Last month's big news was What Would Patton Do's podcast interview with Battlefront's Peter Simunovic and the announcement of Flames of War version 4. The updated rules are due in March 2017, and Battlefront are looking to simplify and streamline the rules to make it more accessible to new and casual players. Despite the close release date, Battlefront is still looking for feedback from players. Peter Simunovic has agreed to talk to the WWPD crew again, and WWPD have been running a thread on their forums asking for suggestions. I've been keeping an eye on this, and there's too much to cover in detail, so I'll try and summarise some of the common themes being discussed here. Poster Vinny asked if there was a plan to make a new open-fire box set for version 4. Given one of the main stated goals of the new version is to attract new players, this would seem likely. Other posters were concerned about their existing investment in the game and the possibility of having to re-buy new versions of books they already own. Asdell said, "One thing I can tell you, I'm not buying yet another D-Day book." In the interview, Simunovic talked of the rules being a living document, and the possibility of a rules app that would be revised and updated. Some posters pointed out that Lessons from the Front and Team Yankees FM 101 had similar ambitions, but failed to be regularly updated. Artillery rules were mentioned, and several posters hoped version 4 would include the ability to target artillery on a spot on the table, as can be done in Team Yankee, rather than the current Flames of War restrictions of having to target a specific unit. One of the things a lot of people seemed to think needed to be simplified are assaults. While there were not too many suggestions about how this could be done, there seemed to be general consensus that this needed attention. 122nd NYVI asked whether the rules might allow more than one platoon to assault at a time, and Eric suggested that after defensive fire was resolved, that casualties could be simultaneous to speed things up in resolving the assault. A change to a more Team Yankee-style rule set gave some posters concerns about morale, particularly for small stands like command teams and things like recon units. Concerns seemed to go both ways, with some people concerned some units would become impossible to break, while others were concerned these smaller units would break more easily, forcing a loss or affecting victory points. A number of posters asked if special national rules would be included in the new version. Discussion on the board seems to be split between those who want the flavour of the national special rules maintained and those who want to see this all streamlined and simplified. The eventual transition to unit cards in Flames of War has generated a lot of comment, which also seems to divide into two camps. Some people do not like the idea of stats cards for units, while others believe it simplifies things for new players, and like the convenience of having all the vehicle statistics close at hand. Again, people are wondering how they'll get stats cards for units they already own, while others wonder how the cards will deal with similar units with different training or morale. Having individual cards for each permutation could make for a lot of cards. Poster KJ made a good point asking how the card system would handle errors or stats changes. The mechanics of the card system is certainly an interesting issue. A lot of people like the simplicity of cards, but there are issues here with accuracy as well as having to accommodate variations that just aren't present in the simpler and more theoretical Team Yankee environment. Team Yankee cards are more generic and capture the general flavour of a nation's military, whereas a lot of the appeal of Flames of War is the wide array of specific units from the conflict, with strong variations even within a single country's forces. Mr. Simunovic specifically mentioned maintaining that historical richness in the game, so Battlefront understand that it's an important part of the appeal of the game, and it will be interesting to see how they achieve this. The new lower value point system similar to Team Yankee would seem to have some bearing on this as well. Narcissus asked if units would still have options like adding 50 cals under this reduced point system. Given in the current game these are only worth a very few points, it would be difficult to represent this with a meaningful points cost in the new system. Perhaps these options will just be available to the units and not costed. Ruboy expressed a concern this approach would reduce granularity in forces lists and would lead to more vanilla platoons. Barrett agrees and suggests the lower point system would make it harder to reflect the nuanced differences between similar vehicles like Panzer IIIG, J, L and N variants. Gothmog suggested the cost of things like transports could just be included in the cost of a unit. As an Aussie, I saw there were plenty of comments about bricks and mortar stores not stocking Flames of War, particularly here in Australia. I guess I'm lucky as my local hobby store Tactics has a good stock of Flames of War and do mail order. but distribution and stocking are issues that are a common theme, so this is an issue for Battlefront to address if they plan to reinvigorate the game. A number of people thought Flames of War was difficult to stock because of the extensive product range, which when combined with supply issues made it unattractive to retailers. Nuben asked Pete if Battlefront planned to do anything to make the game more attractive to stock for retailers. Asdell made a good point that part of the supply issue was needing to have separate individual blisters for specific variants of units or vehicles. The Panzer IV box should contain the necessary bits for whatever Panzer IV you want to field. He contrasted this against some plastic kits from other manufacturers which often included enough alternative parts to be finished as multiple variants. Reducing the stocking overheads would help retailers, and would make it more likely they'd have a kit in stock to build the specific vehicle variant you need. This modular approach is easier to do with plastics, so the gradual change to this medium may help here. Of course, the discussion also related the proposed changes to similar changes made in other game systems. Notably, some posters mentioned that Games Workshop had implemented a card system in some of their games at one point. Probably the funniest post of this nature was from Gothmog, who wondered if in a few months we'd all be playing Flames of Sigmar. As I said, this is just a quick summary of the main points raised on this forum. I recommend checking it out yourself and even add your own questions if your concerns aren't addressed here. Now that we've covered the version 4 discussion, let's look at some product releases. Last episode we had some images of the Battlefront Tiger I and Puma. These are now available for order on Battlefront's website. The plastic Tiger I kit is a Tiger IE complete with Zimmerit. The Tiger IE Platoon box set GBX90 includes 5 vehicles, decals and commander figures. A special Tiger's Marsh edition is available that includes 2 Tiger objective markers and 7 cards for the tank's skirmish game, including a crew card for Tiger ace Michael Wittmann. GBX89, the Puma Panzerspar platoon box set, contains 6 plastic vehicles. Each Puma sprue allows you to build either an SDKFZ 234/2 Puma, armed with a 5cm cannon, the 234/1 with a 2cm cannon, 234/4 with 7.5cm Pak 40 cannon, or the 234/3 close support version armed with a 7.5cm howitzer. The latter 2 vehicles are open-topped. The box set contains 6 sprues for the vehicles plus tank commander and gun crew figures as well as a decal sheet. These Battlefront releases will be welcomed by German Flames of War players, who will also be delighted with an announcement this month by the Plastic Soldier Company. In a teaser post on their Facebook page, PSC announced the upcoming release of German 8-rad armoured cars. The kit can be completed as 4 different variants: the standard reconnaissance SDKFZ 231 with 2cm cannon, the 232 version fitted with a frame aerial, the 263 command version with frame antenna on a fixed superstructure, and finally the 233 support version with a short-barreled 7.5cm gun. The teaser indicated this kit would be released in 15mm in January 2017, followed by the 1/72nd scale in February. Not in time for Christmas, but well worth the wait. The teaser also gave hope to Plastic Soldier Company fans waiting for universal carriers in 15mm. One of the common guesses on the teaser spot was for carriers, and without naming a release date, PSC said players waiting for these vehicles would have their patience rewarded soon. While there are no details about options here, Plastic Soldier Company is known for including lots of options in their kits, and hinted that Wasp flamethrowers were likely. Given Battlefront showed off a plastic prototype of universal carriers last month, British and Commonwealth players, and maybe even Russians, will have plastic universal carriers from 2 manufacturers to choose from in 2017. The German players got a lot of love this month. Zvezda's 2017 catalogue was released, and showed we can expect a plastic mouse to be released sometime next year. The mouse was a super heavy tank design armed with a massive 12.8cm gun, but only 2 prototypes were ever built, and only 1 was completed. A surviving example is on display at the Kubinka Tank Museum in Russia, so Zvezda had access to a real one when designing this kit. This release continues Zvezda's trend of covering unusual vehicles in plastic, and like the King Tiger and Sturm Tiger, this should be a runaway hit with Flames of War players. But Russian players will have a heavy tank of their own next year. The 2017 catalogue also lists a 1/100 scale IS-3 heavy tank. A continuing development of the Joseph Stalin tank series, The IS-3 was first seen in 1945. It was a very different vehicle from the IS-2 with a hemispherical turret, heavy well-sloped armour, and a prominent pointed bow which earned it the nickname Pike from its crews. Too late to play an active part in World War II, the IS-3 was a nasty surprise to the Allies when it first appeared in an Allied victory parade in September 1945. Many post-war Allied tank designs had the IS-3 in mind as a probable opponent. So with the Mouse and the IS-3, Zvezda have brought their 1/100 range past the end of war into post-war or theoretical territory. This would be interesting to play Paper Panzer 1946 scenarios. Speaking of post-war, Team Yankee had a few releases. British forces got some anti-air assets with the tracked Rapier SAM section. This resin and metal kit represents the British anti-air vehicle which mated the Rapier surface-to-air missile with an armoured launch vehicle developed from the US M548 tracked transport chassis. Staying in the air, British players also get the Harrier GR3, the ground attack version of the famous VTOL jump jet aircraft. The Harrier is a resin metal kit and has stats for the 30mm Aden cannon and BL-755 cluster bombs. The cannon can also be used in the anti-helicopter role. To round out product reviews, Dice of War were nice enough to supply some samples of some of their new release custom dice sets. The company has added Napoleonics dice to their wargaming range, including this Bavarian dice and the White Eagle of the Duchy of Warsaw. This dice would also serve for the Polish Eagle for World War II. World War II dice for the Allies include this beautiful Scorpion logo of the Long Range Desert Group, as well as this French Adrien insignia. For the Axis forces there's the mailed fist of the 78th Sturm Battalion, the diving eagle of the Fallschirmjäger, and this insignia for the 4th Panzer Division. The World War III Team Yankee range have added this set emblazoned with the British Army of the Rhine Shield. Dice of War have also added to their generic dice range, like this set with the British flag, which would suit many games and eras. These are just a small sampling of the new releases here. Make sure you check out the full Dice of War range on their website. The final thing for this episode of Rumours and Lies is to report that wargaming website Breakthrough Assault was hacked recently. The site was down for some time but is back up and running now. They have lots of great content, so if you haven't seen their work, check them out. Reviewer Lee Parnell has recently had a good look at the Zvezda King Tiger, so this might be a good second opinion on this kit. That's all for Rumours and Lies at the moment. I hope to get a December roundup for product releases done before the end of 2016. Until then, happy gaming!